All right. So in this presentation, I'll be talking about something called Rainville technique. You may have also heard it referred to as SAL or SAL, but this is a method for estimating masked bone conduction when a masking dilemma is present. So please note that you have to have a 2-channel audiometer that has the capacity to present masking via the bone oscillator. All right. So prior to conducting a Rainville, the audiogram must have the following already measured. You need to have your unmasked bone conduction thresholds, unmasked and/or masked air conduction thresholds, and then you'll want to complete all masked bone conduction testing that can be obtained using conventional methods. So here's how this works. With Rainville, you're going to place the bone oscillator on the forehead, and then you'll either have inserts or TDH on each of the ears. So in this particular case, let's imagine that we're using insert phones. The idea with Rainville is that middle ear attenuation is a fixed value. And it's a fixed value in a way that won't fluctuate during the course of a hearing test. So for each frequency, we expect that there is a certain amount of attenuation through the middle ear space that will be fixed for the duration of that hearing test. So, for example, let's pretend this. We have 3 ossicles on each side. Let's pretend that we actually glue all 3 ossicles together over on the left, and this creates a known attenuation of 50 dB. On the right side, we're going to pretend that we glued 2 of the ossicles together, and this creates a known attenuation of 30 dB. When you have a maximal conductive loss, it's not at all uncommon that we may have a particularly, sensitive unmasked bone conduction threshold, whether it be occlusion effect or anything of that nature. Also, just in terms of central masking. So remember that we have our bone oscillator on the forehead, and we have inserts in both ears. What we're doing with Rainville is we're actually using reverse masking. So if I put 10 dB of masking in through the bone oscillator on the forehead, the end result is that it's going to be shifting the cochleas on both sides by that amount. So if I have shifted the cochlea by the 10 dB of masking that I've placed in there, and then I go back and I use air conduction to reconfirm where the threshold is, in this particular case, on the left side, when I reconfirm air conduction threshold, nothing's changed. The patient's still raising their hand by 60. If I reconfirm air conduction threshold on the right side, nothing's changed. Patient still raises their hand when I present at 60. So next step, I'm going to increase masking again. This time on the left side, if I recheck the threshold by air, it's no longer at 60. They're not raising their hand. 65, still not raising their hand. I have to raise it up until 70 before they raise their hand. On the right side, if I recheck air conduction threshold, patient doesn't know anything's happened over there. Theoretically, I've raised their cochlea, but if I present at 60 by air conduction, they're still raising their hand. If I were to put more masking in, what we're going to see is on the left side, it continues to have a greater and greater effect. Each time I raise the amount of masking through the bone oscillator, when I confirm air conduction on that left side, I'm basically pushing against the static amount of middle ear attenuation. So if I test them where they originally were at 60, they don't raise their hand. 65, no hand raise. 75, no hand raise. Now they have to be at 80 before they raise their hand. Right side, Nothing's changed. I have raised the cochlea on the right side, and they're still oblivious to it. They're still raising their hand just as they always were at 60. If I increase the amount of masking yet again through that bone oscillator, then what happens is finally I see that I've run into those ossicles on the right side. It's at the moment that we achieve a shift in the air conduction that we've confirmed that we're running into our middle ear conductive. But you'll notice that the way that it responds and behaves is that each time I increase the masking, especially on that left side, it increases the air conduction threshold by the same amount. Once I have that shift and I confirm that it behaves the way I anticipate, then I could start applying my math. So I take the amount of masking over threshold that I've put in, and I subtract the amount of air conduction shift. So we can see over here that this is my amount of masking. It's at 40. It has shifted my threshold by 30. So I'm going to subtract that shift from my amount of masking. So basically the way I view it is I was at 60, now I'm at 90, so it shifted 1, 2, 3. Here's my level of masking, 1, 2, 3. Therefore, I see it at 10 dB is my estimated bone conduction. Right side, I put in this amount of masking, it shifted by 10 dB. So I take that amount of masking, subtract 10 dB, means it's at 30. So it's basic math, and essentially the idea is reverse masking. So let's try it again. This time, let's pretend we don't know how much middle ear attenuation is present. So if I plop in 30 dB of masking through that bone oscillator, and then I go back and I start the process of confirming the effect that has on the air conduction threshold, what I see on the left side is that it is shifted by 15. What I see on the right side is it's shifted by 25. So remember our math over on the left, shifted by 15. So I subtract 5, 10, 15. I expect that my masked bone conduction on the left is at 15. Right side, I've shifted by 25. So I'm going to take my level, subtract 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. That means I anticipate that my right masked bone conduction will be at 5. So there's the math. I'm also a visual person, so I tend to, with my finger on the audiogram, as I measure, I just count back, and then that's where my estimated bone conduction is. So that's Rainville. This is a pretty simple explanation of how it works. In many scenarios, it's a great cross-check. If you think maybe you're in an under-over masking dilemma, it's a nice little trick to know about. Unfortunately, not all audiometers have the ability to present masking through bone conduction, but it's a great option to know about, especially in a lot of countries where they do a lot of mastoidectomies. So, thank you.